Hey, what's going on everyone? Flick here, back again with another one of these FIFA 20 career mode challenges. Today, we'll be heading over to France and managing Olympique Lyon. This challenge is a collaboration with Career MD Hub. They're a career mode based Instagram page, so if you're on Instagram, go ahead and drop them a follow. I'm going to leave a link to their page in the description of this video, as well as a link to my own Instagram where I've started posting career mode content. So yeah, if you need to pull up the specs for this challenge, go ahead and head over to their Instagram page and interact with their content. This challenge with Lyon is a 3+ season project, but the team in a position to win consecutive league titles and their first Champions League. Now, if you weren't already aware, Lyon had an incredible run in Ligue 1 during the 2000s, winning 7 consecutive league titles from the 2001-02 season to the 2007-08 season. We're going to attempt to win at least one league title during this challenge and set up the squad in a way that they can repeat the following season and start another streak in Ligue 1. We're also going to follow Lyon's transfer trends and make sure that our transfer expenditures never exceed our transfer income each season. We're also going to stay true to Lyon's nickname of Les Gone, or the Kids, and maintain an average squad age of under 25. As per usual, here are the specs for each season of the challenge. We'll be diving into greater detail as we enter each season. And finally, some fun facts about the club. All 7 of Lyon's titles came from their consecutive titles run in the 2000s. Similar to some of our previous career mode challenges, Lyon have a real stadium in FIFA 20. For sponsorship reasons, it's known as the Groupama Stadium, but it was previously known as Parc OL, which seats 59,186 people and is heavily influenced by Lyon's red and blue color scheme. 4 players in France's 2018 World Cup winning squad had played for Olympique Lyon at some point in their career: Fekir, Loris, Tolisso, and Umtiti. That's going to be it for the specs. If you like the concept of today's challenge, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new around here, and turn on post notifications. And finally, drop a comment on what teams you want to see me do a career mode challenge with in the future. But with all that said, let's get into season 1 of this career mode challenge with Olympique Lyon. Our objectives for season 1 of this career mode challenge are fairly straightforward in that we need to finish top 4 in the league and also reach the knockout stage of the Champions League. It might seem easy, but it's going to be more difficult than you might think because of some squad restrictions that I'll be implementing. Speaking of the Lyon squad, this is the team sheet that you load up career mode with. However, as per usual, I've made some modifications to the team to better fit my plans for this career mode challenge. We'll be starting with Anthony Lopez in goal, and he's going to play an important role in my plans for this career mode challenge. 84 rated, always important for simulations, and still just 28 years old, so I don't expect his overall rating to be declining much. Moving into our defensive line, we have Kone as our left back. Has the lowest overall rating in this squad at just 75, but he is 23 years old, so we can put him through a few years of player training. I'm hoping that overall can increase, but to be completely honest with you all, I do plan on bringing in a higher rated left back here in the immediate future. Jason Denayer is a player that we're very familiar with. I've used him in my Hertha Berlin career mode challenge, and I know he can reach a nice overall rating. Anderson is a new addition to this Lyon squad, was just brought in during the summer. At 77 overall, 23 years old. He's not the best, he's not the worst. He'll be good for this first season. And then finally, we have Dubois at right back. Looks like a very solid fullback, which is a very important characteristic that I look for. I want a fullback that can play from one end of the pitch to the other. Our midfield has some solid players in here, starting with Iago Menge, a 27-year-old Brazilian center mid at 80 overall. And while he is an older player, I'll still be using him for the first season or two of this career mode challenge, and then he'll transition to more of a rotational player for us as some of our youngsters increase in their overall. Next up, we have Awar, who is one of the marquee players in this Lyon squad, and I fully expect some big clubs to be submitting offers for him. I'm going to be considering those offers because it lines up with what Lyon do in real life. They develop players who eventually move on to bigger clubs. We want to make Lyon the best team in Europe eventually, but they're not quite there yet in season 1. Bruno Guimaraes is another solid midfielder. Recently joined Lyon in the winter of 2020, and while he doesn't have a game face, just has this silhouette, he looks like an incredible center mid. He's pacey, has great passing, dribbling, defending, and physical, can really play box to box, so I'm excited about his future. At right wing, we have the ex-Chelsea prospect, Bertrand Traoré. I was surprised to see he's only 23 years old, and also he has a 1-star weak foot. I don't know what's going on there, but we're definitely not going to be shooting on his right. Dembélé is another talented player in this Lyon squad, and if he manages to have a successful campaign in Ligue 1, he's another player that I expect clubs will be submitting offers for, and that I will be considering. Finally, we have Memphis Depay, who is one of Lyon's most expensive transfers. He sort of reignited his career after having a not so successful spell at Manchester United, but he's been doing great in Ligue 1. Love him as a player in FIFA, and I fully expect him to stay in this Lyon squad for the entirety of this career mode challenge. I fully expect to involve our substitutes and reserves in my plans for season 1, as our squad is still fairly low for their overall. Basically, any player you see in these first 3 lines of substitutes and reserves will still be getting playtime. And since we also have to consider it is a definite possibility that some of our first team players will be leaving the club by the end of the season, we need to make sure we develop some of these players on the substitutes and reserves so that they can eventually take over for players that leave. Just in case you were wondering, the average age of our starting 11 and substitutes is just over 24 years old, so we're all set for that part of the objective. Of course, youth development is an important aspect and philosophy of this Lyon squad. So we have 4 different slots of player training. That totals 20 different players that we'll be putting through training regularly. I'm quickly going to show which players that I'm mostly going to train for this first season. I'm not going to show it for future seasons. Basically, if we sign any young players, I'll put them through player training, and then once any player reaches 25 years old, I'll be taking them out of player training. So pretty basic stuff, and I'll try to keep you all updated on player growth over the course of the seasons. I've assigned a few instructions for our global transfer network looking for promising players between the ages of 16 and 21, and also a first team quality left back between the ages of 16 and 23. I'm going to be using the global transfer network more often from here on out because it allows me to sign some new players, which is definitely a possibility with dynamic potential, and it should make the content more interesting. As for what countries we're scouting, it's mostly going to be countries outside of England because Lyon don't sign a lot of players from the Premier League, so I'm thinking more like France, Italy, Germany, and Spain. We've managed to sign up 3 5-star scouts, and how this is going to work is that I'm going to have 2 permanent countries that I'll always be scouting, those 2 countries being France and Brazil. And then for this 3rd scout, I'm going to rotate between a bunch of countries. So I'm starting in Sweden, but I'll be also scouting out other countries that famous Lyon players have played for. So for example, Sweden, Kim Källström is the player that comes to mind, but in the future, I might want to scout Ghana to find the next Essien. I've made a big signing to start off this career mode challenge, but it's not a normal signing. It's actually a loan deal. We've brought back Umtiti to Lyon. He used to play for the club before leaving in 2016. And I feel like this move wouldn't be the most unrealistic thing. He sort of struggled the last few years at Barcelona due to injuries, so I feel like a move back to his former club allow him to really play some great football in France, and then he can eventually go back to Barcelona and be at his best. Anyways, we've done a 50-50 split with Barcelona in terms of who pays the weekly wages, so we're giving him 110 grand a week for his wages. That's a lot, but for an 85 overall center back, he's definitely going to help us meet our goals. We've reached transfer deadline day, and I haven't exactly brought in a lot of players. The only deal that we've made in terms of players coming in is Umtiti on the loan deal, just because I haven't gotten a lot of results from the global transfer network. Only 3 results for first team quality left backs, none of which I want to pick up just yet. I'm going to keep my eye on this Gazolisco guy from PSG. Looks like a solid player, but I kind of want to see how our team plays out and see what positions we need to improve upon, as well as if we start receiving offers for some of our talented players, because we might need to replace those positions. But in terms of transfers, here are the deals that we have made. Rafael is going to Ajax for 9.2 million, and then Marsal is going to Real Sociedad for 7.2 million. That totals 16.4 million that we can work with in terms of players coming in. We have some unfortunate news. Dembele has suffered an ACL injury in one of our simulations, and he'll be out for 4 months. This is exactly why I didn't want to use any of our income funds to sign a player, because we don't have a lot of squad depth at the strike position. Now that Dembele is injured, I might need to bring in a striker. Halfway through our simulation in season 1, and things are going well for us. We're still within grasp of PSG, who currently sit first in Ligue 1 with 53 points, only 7 points behind them. And then more importantly, we sit 11 points above 5th place Montpellier, who are trying to get within the top 4. We've also achieved our objective of getting out of the group stage of the Champions League, finishing first in our group with 14 points. I expected RB Leipzig to win our group, but we had some good results against them, and we're into the round of 16. It's been an uneventful first season in terms of transfer deals. We didn't receive a single bid in January for a player whose overall is above 80, so I figured we have 16.4 million to spend in this first season. Let's bring in another left back into the team for some more squad depth. So I've signed Broderick for 13.6 million, paid his release clause directly, and he's not going to take over the starting left back spot, but with some player training at just 20 years old, he could potentially become our future #1 left back. And as you can see, Broderick is the only transfer deal that happened for us in January. No players left the club. Going into the home leg of our round of 16 fixture in the Champions League, we find ourselves down 3-0 on aggregate. With that said, hope is not entirely lost. Other teams like Liverpool have come back to Barcelona in this sort of situation. Let's see how we can do. And if we can come back in this tie at all, no, it's another 0-3 result. We've performed so well in the league for this first season simulation, finishing second in league, only 8 points behind PSG as well. So I'm feeling optimistic that by season 3, we can win the league title. However, the league isn't the only competition that we made good progress in. I noticed that we reached the final of the Coupe Nationale. I don't know what the result finished as. We played against PSG. Let's see the score line. And if we managed to lift some silverware, we did not, unfortunately. PSG beat us 2-1 in the final. And I believe in the league, we drew them once and then they beat us like 3-0. So still some work to do there. We were knocked down the round of 16 to Lyon in the Coupe de la Ligue. I believe PSG also won that competition. Liverpool ended up winning the Champions League this year, and Barcelona made it all the way to the final. So it's not bad being knocked out to the second place team in the Champions League. Looking at our team statistics, it's clear that we need to surround Memphis Depay with some more attacking talent in season 2 if we're going to win the league and the Champions League. He's not going to be able to score all the goals alone. Just an incredible tally from him this season, and you could argue he was one of the best players in league. Dembele was the next closest for goals. To be fair, he had a 3 or 4 month injury, so I'm expecting better results from Dembele next season. And then for assists, yeah, it was Depay with 17, Guimaraes and Mendes not too far behind. And for overall growth, a lot of our defenders ended up doing well, +5 for both Sole and Kalulu. We managed to achieve both of our objectives for season 1, finishing second in the league and reaching the round of 16 of the Champions League. I'm expecting that some more transfers happen in season 2, both players coming into the club and departing the club. Our objectives have gotten more difficult in season 2 of this challenge. We now need to finish top 2 in league and also match Lyon's farthest appearance in the Champions League, meaning we need to reach at least the semi-final. And as of right now, this is the squad that we have to work with. Keep in mind though that we may very well see some changes to our starting 11 by the end of the summer transfer window. Specifically, I see either Aouar, Depay, or Dembele leaving because big clubs are surely going to be submitting offers for them. If I had to pick between the 3, I'd probably be most okay with Aouar leaving because we have the most squad depth at the center mid position, but realistically, I see some offers coming in for Depay because he was one of the top goal scorers in Ligue 1 last season. Of course, depending on which player ends up leaving, I'll be looking to sign a replacement for that position, but I also want to bring in another center back in this second season because Umtiti has returned back to Barcelona, and I think he contributed a lot to our success last year, so I'd like to bring in a higher rated center back. We've had the first of what I think will be many big transfers go through. Iago Menge has left for Manchester United, and we've received 25 million for him. The reason I accepted this is because he is 28 years old, so he's already reached his peak, and 25 million is a lot for him. As a replacement for Iago Menge, I think Kakare can take over at the center defensive mid spot. He may be lower in his overall at 76, but he is significantly younger at just 20, so he has several years of player training ahead of him. Another transfer window has nearly come and gone, and once again, we haven't received a lot of offers for some of our higher profile players. The only offer coming in for Depay was from Real Madrid, and that was under his market value. There's no way I'm going to part ways with him considering the last season he had. And we nearly had a move for Traore going to Porto, but he got injured just before that deal happened. Otherwise, he would have gone for 30 million, which would have been a nice bit of business. Our transfer business ended up working out in the summer. We've lost the starting center defensive mid, but we have gained an improvement at the center back position, which was my key area of focus for the summer. We've acquired Luis Felipe for 25 million. That's the exact fee that Iago Menge left the club for. We had a few other deals go through besides the Iago Menge and Luis Felipe transfers. Barcola is out on loan to Real Salt Lake, and then technically we're at a net positive of 2.1 million in our transfer balance with Pintor leaving the club. We sped through season 2. We're now at the halfway point of our simulation, and I can confidently say that PSG will likely winning Ligue 1 this season. I'm still feeling confident though that we can finish top 2. As for the Champions League, we've somehow managed to get out of our group despite a very difficult draw. Manchester City, Leverkusen, and Dynamo Kiev. We had some great results go our way. A loss and a draw against Manchester City, a win and a draw against Leverkusen, and a win and a draw against Dynamo Kiev. This has come as a bit of a surprise, but Real Madrid has paid the 26.7 million release clause for Dubois, which is right around his market value. I've actually left the release clauses on purpose for some of our players because players move on from Lyon all the time, and I want to make this career mode challenge a bit more realistic. To be completely honest, I expected more of our higher profile players to be leaving the club, but it's turned out that some of our mid-tier players in the lower 80s have departed. Quite a few players have actually left the club in January. Both Tatarusano and Diop had transfer deals agreed upon, so they'll be leaving immediately. And then, of course, the release clause was paid for Dubois. So if we total up the extra 2.1 million we had at the end of summer, along with all the funds that came in January, we have 48.8 million to spend, and we'll still break even. We've actually spent well under the 48 million, and we brought in Diaby for 33.2 million. It's right around his market value of 32.5 million. Just paid his release clause directly, and now we've bolstered our attack. While Diaby is listed as a left mid, we're going to allow him to play on the right side and cut in on that left foot of his. And to be honest, I'm very happy with where the squad is at right now. I think our overalls are only going to continue increasing, and as long as we don't lose any huge players in season 3, we can make a run at the Champions League with a few more signings. We had a much more favorable draw in this year's Champions League, matching up against Inter in the round of 16, who, don't get me wrong, are a good side, but they're no Barcelona, and we won the home leg 2-1. I'm expecting us to go through here because we have a full strength starting 11. Let's get into it, and hopefully our away result can go just as well. It's 3-2, but I think that means we're going to advance on aggregate. Let me rephrase that. We'll be advancing on away goals aggregate. Now that we're past the round of 16, I fully expect us to be matching it against top tier opponents, and that is definitely the case for the quarter final. We have Manchester City, who we lost 1-2 in the home leg, so all hope is not lost. If we can get a favorable result here away from home, there's still a possibility that we can reach the semi-finals. What an achievement that would be. Let's get into it and see if we can win this simulation with a full strength team. No, Manchester City winning this one 3-0. Season 2 has come to a close, and I have to admit we've done very well in the league, finishing on 100 points. We're not far off from PSG, and I think we can take them over next season. This year's Champions League final was a repeat of last year's, Liverpool winning this one over Barcelona 3-2. At the beginning of the season, we competed in the Trophée des Champions, and PSG beat us in the final 2-1. However, we did lift some silverware this season, winning the Coupe Nationale over Marseille 4-1. Once again, PSG were that much better than us, beating us in the final of the Coupe de la Ligue 1-0. We have some very interesting results here for our team statistics. I think the injury that Dembele had in the first season played a big role why he didn't score as many goals as he did this year. 48 is more than double the next closest, which was Elwar. I think we just need to figure out our attack next year. Right now, Dembele seems to be the only contributor, and then in season 1, Depay was the only contributor. So we just need to figure it out to distribute those goals evenly. As for assists, it was Awar and Guy Marej, as well as René Adelaide, that got most of the assists for us. It was mostly our youth academy players that saw a lot of growth this season, and to be fair, some of them are sneaking up to be substitute players next year. If they can hit right around the upper 70s, lower 80s, then they would be good enough to find a place for the bench. Overall, though, I was pretty happy with how we performed in season 2. We weren't far off from PSG for winning the league title, and we achieved our objective of finishing top 2 in Ligue 1. And to be fair, we were only one round away from reaching the semi-finals of the Champions League, although we did not achieve that objective. Our sole objective for season 3 is simple. We're looking to begin Lyon's new era of dominance by winning Ligue 1 and the Champions League. Whether our squad has enough quality to make that objective happen is another question. Of course, we do have some high-rated players in this team. Lopez at 86 overall, Guy Marange at 85 overall, Awar at 88 overall, Depay and Dembele both at 86, and then we have a lot of young, promising players that surely will see this season through player training. However, there are a few areas of weakness in this squad, specifically in our defense. I'm looking to sign a world-class fullback in this summer transfer window to replace Kone or Teta. If for whatever reason our global transfer network scout does not come back with a world-class fullback, I'd also be okay with signing a world-class center back. and then moving on Luis Felipe or Anderson. In order to raise enough funds to make a world-class transfer happen, I'm going to put a number of players on the transfer list, and these are either going to be players that have good value, but we already have enough squad depth at that position, or they're just not going to factor into my squad plans. So anyone from Cabral onward is going to go on the transfer list. After doing some scouting with the global transfer network, I realized Bayern had an excess amount of right backs in their team, so we picked up one of them in Pavar. That's definitely an improvement for us at the right back position and still well within our transfer means. We've made another huge acquisition in the summer transfer window, and we're slowly moving towards a world-class defense, bringing in Upamecano for 42.4 million. With 61.1 million still left to spend, we've decided to pay Lodi's release clause of 40.5 million, leaving us still with 20.6 million to spend in future transfer windows if we do wish. We completely revamped our defense, and I'm feeling confident about winning both the league title and the Champions League this season. We'll see if that can actually happen. It's been an eventful transfer window to say the least, but I'm happy with that considering the lack of deals that have happened in previous seasons. But I do want to walk you through the players that have departed the club because we honestly had some great business go on. Luis Felipe to Spurs probably being the best. We received 50 million for him. His market value is only 31 million, so 19 over his market value. That's a good bit of business. And then moving on, we've also got Kone. Didn't expect this bid, but Wolfsburg came in for 40.4 million. That is 16.4 million above his market value. And then a couple of other players, Newcastle picking up Traore, 3 million above his market value. We have Cadavere going to Roma for 17.7. That's about 1.8 million over his market value. And then a couple of final deals out here. Over time though, and cumulatively, these do add up to roughly 10 million or so. In case you were wondering, this is where the squad is at. I think as long as we don't suffer any serious injuries to our star players, we have a great shot at achieving our objectives this year. But let's move forward in our simulation and see how we're doing at the halfway mark. I have a feeling we're going to experience an eventful end to season 3 halfway through our simulation, and we are even on points with PSG, well above the competition. So it's either going to be us or it's going to be PSG who win the Ligue 1 title. We also had a solid outing in the Champions League, finishing second in our group. Our only losses came to Liverpool, which to be honest was expected. Clubs finally seem to be coming in for our players. Renato Adelaide is off to Bournemouth for 48.3 million. That, combined with a few other transfers, as well as the excess funds that we had at the end of the summer transfer window, leave us with 73.22 million to spend. With funds not being an issue, I couldn't think of a better player to bring back to the club than Tolisso. We signed him for 50 million, and at this point in career mode, he's 85 rated. There's something about us matching Barcelona in the Champions League. However, this time around, I'm not scared going into this leg. We won the home fixture 1-0. I feel like we have one of the best teams in the world. Let's just get into the simulation and hope that we can get to the next round of the Champions League. It ends 1-1. We'll be advancing on aggregate 2-1. Let's go. Liverpool's up next in the Champions League. They may have beaten us both times in the group stage, but it's a different story now. We've made some improvements to the squad, and more importantly, we currently hold a 2-0 lead after winning our home leg. As long as we don't collapse, we'll be advancing to the semifinals of the Champions League. Let's get into it and see how we do. Match ends 1-1. We're advancing. I don't usually show league matches over the course of the simulation, but this one is too important not to show. This fixture against PSG will likely decide the league. If we were to get a win, we'll go 1 point above them. I don't think a draw would be enough, and surely a loss would knock us out of any contention. But let's get into the simulation. We have one player injured in that Tolisso is out for about another 4 weeks. So we brought in Lucas to the center midfield, and hopefully we can beat this strong PSG side and decide who the best team in France is going to be. It ends as a draw. Unless PSG lose one of their final couple of fixtures, I don't know if we're going to win the league title. We have our work cut out for us in this one. Going into the home leg, we're down 2-0 on aggregate to Manchester United. With that said, we have enough firepower in this team that we can advance at home, especially in front of our home fans. Let's get into the simulation and just hope we can pick up a good result. Match ends 3-0. Oh, the stars were aligned and we're into the final of the Champions League. What a display. We've reached the final match day of the Ligue 1 season. Things haven't changed in regards to the league standing. We still sit 2 points behind PSG, and they're playing a mid-table side. So we need a lot of luck to go on our side if we were to win the title, but we need to win the simulation regardless. So let's see how we do here against Nice. And we win it 4-0. And it looks like PSG won their game 2-0. So despite an incredible performance by us in the league, PSG also managed a great performance. However, since I like to end these episodes by hopefully lifting the trophy, I'm going to go over all the competitions now as well as the player statistics so that you can see that for this season. And then as per usual, whenever we don't achieve our objectives, I'm going to do a simulation off camera and show you the season that we do end up winning Liga. This is the final point total for the league. PSG ending on 106 points. We finished on 104. PSG also beat us in the trophy championship. The Coupe Nationale is yet to be played, but what's new? PSG is going to be our opponent for that. And we did win the Coupe de la Ligue 5-1 over Stade Rennais. It's clear that Aouar played a huge role in our success this season, but that's what you expect from a 91 rated player. Dembele also managed to perform really well. 36 goals from him, and then we'll look at the assist category. Yeah, it was mostly Aouar and Guy Menge who got the most assists for us. This is what the starting 11 of both teams look like. On paper, I'd say we have the higher overall players. And honestly, that Manchester City defense is not great. The fact that they have Piqué at an 81 rating, surely that has to be due to an injury. We are missing one of our starting center backs as well. Jason Denayer is still recovering from his injury, but we brought in Anderson, who has played pretty well for us throughout this career mode. Oh, that's a mistake already by the Manchester City defense. And we're getting numbers forward, asking Tolisso to make the run. If we can play it through to him, he might be able to get a goal here. We'll take the early shot. And I should have taken another dribble. We know Ederson is going to make some big saves. Here's Guy Menge, our center defensive midfielder, spots out the run by our number 9. And that's a great read by Piqué. He might not be the highest overall rating, but you know his tactical awareness is going to be one of the best on the Manchester City starting 11. We're not giving up yet, though, as we have Aouar on the ball. He's just so silky on the ball. And he's able to dribble by anybody. Great through ball play to Memphis Depay. Maybe we can play this one across. And it was a cross on the near post. We just need to be patient and find the opportunity to take the ball away and get on a counterattack. We've got some quick players in our squad as the ball is played across. Not the best cross, if I'm going to be honest, though. And we're able to get this one cleared with Tolisso. That is a through ball and a half if we can get to it. It's Tolisso playing it inside. And now Diaby on his left foot. He's going to shoot. And he doesn't have the best finishing out of our front three. Probably the worst of our attackers. Not the kind of player I want in that sort of position. That might just be a massive error by Manchester City's fullback. He pushed too far up, and now it's Memphis Depay. Through on goal. Going to try to use his skills to beat the player. Playing it through. Just needs to cut it across. And maybe one pass too many. We should have taken the shot with Aouar. He is one of our highest rated players. Stats-wise, we've been the dominant side. At least we're generating chances. Equal on possession, though. Whoever gets the first goal in this match, I think there's a strong chance they'll be winning. This is what I want. Diaby on the right side. He's got the pace. And I'm just going to let him run with it. Just needs to find the ball across here. And the cutback is going to go to one of our players. It's Aouar. Guess who else it's going to be? And we get the first goal of the match just after the halftime break. At that point, I thought inside the box, Aouar just needs to shoot. I need to stop making these extra passes and let our high-rated players try to make an impact. We've done just that. Ooh, that's a dangerous ball. Play to Sterling. Need to track back. Make sure we defend. The inside shot, and that is a great save. Oh, we should be through here, though. Tolisso, can he do better with this chance? We've gone closer to goal, and he buries it on the near post. That's going to make it 2-0. And I think it's great that one of our Season 3 signings has hopefully clinched this match, and one of Lyon's former players is going to play a big role in this new wave of Lyon talent. At this point, we're going to lock up, bring on some more defensive-minded players, and also some fresh legs. Tolisso coming out and Kakare coming in. We're also going to bring in Cornet for Diaby. Ooh, that could have been dangerous. The deflection nearly ends up in our own goal, but all of a sudden, we might be on a counterattack if we can win this header we have. And we've got Cornet running through and trying to take on this Manchester City defender. We played in the middle, shooting on the far post, and we're going to make it 3. I think that's Aouar again scoring a goal for us, and we've just been better than this Manchester City side. To be fair, we should have opened the scoreline earlier, but we've been the dominant team in the second half. Oh, that's a good bit of play by Manchester City. Cleared off the line, though. Lopez was nowhere to be seen. Our defender tracking back, and we might be able to get another goal here as Aouar is bursting forward. I'm going to try to find him, get him his hat trick. Playing it in. Finesse shot. And that should have been 3 for Aouar. over the post though. There's the full-time whistle, a 3-0 result for us in the Champions League final. And I have to say this Lyon team is one of the favorites that I've done a career mode challenge with. Highly recommend you all give it a try, but that'll be it for me today. Again, stick around to the end of the video if you want to see us win the league over PSG. But until next time, this has been Flick. I'll be talking to you all again soon.